Fund. We're on slide 10 right now. And of those 71, 38 have been awarded a federal grant. 14 are awaiting federal grant award notice, and then 19 were not awarded a federal grant. In monetary terms, we've approved just over $100 million worth of funding from the Build Kansas Fund. Again, the ones that have been awarded federal grants we've committed $34.63 million worth of the Build Kansas Fund to those projects. The ones that are awaiting federal award have $8.96 million that's approved, and the amount of money that goes towards the projects that were not awarded federal grants gets recycled back into the Build Kansas Fund for use on other projects in the future. To date, again, we have committed just under $35 million worth of the Build Kansas Fund. That has brought back in just over $75 million worth of federal funding into the state of Kansas for a 219% return on investment. One of the dashboards that we include on our website, ks.gov, is the Build Kansas Fund locations. So this map on the left-hand side shows where Build Kansas Fund projects have received federal grants. That's the green dots, and the yellow dots are the ones that are still awaiting federal award. The graph on the lower right-hand side, we have one legislative requirement is that we commit at least $10 million to each of the 8 economic development districts in the state of Kansas. So we do track that down below on that bottom right graph right there. And you can see the Great Plains District out in southwest Kansas has exceeded the $10 million mark. And the other districts are still catching up to that as we progress through the program and they get more federal awards. From a perspective of the applications that have been awarded, looking at them by the grant sector themselves, the ones that have been 38 have been awarded federal grants. You can see the vast majority of those are in the transportation sector. We've got some in energy, resilience, and water. The 14 that are awaiting award, most of those are in the resilience sector with transportation, energy, and water. And Representative Francis, last meeting, you asked about some dollar amounts associated with this particular graph, and I'll give those to you right now. For the ones that have been awarded, the transportation grants, that equates to just under $60 million, $59.5 million. Energy is $17.8 million. Resilience is $3.4 million. And the water, it's two very large projects, but it amounts to $58 million. For the ones that are awaiting award, that resilience number, it's $5.7 million. The transportation is $19.2 million. The energy is $14.5 million, and the water is $2.6 million. I can get you those numbers later too if you'd like. Some other dashboards that we have on our website, again, showing where we're at with the $200 million Build Kansas Fund. Again, roughly we've committed $34.6 million or 17% of the Build Kansas Fund so far. 71 applications received and approved through the advisory committee process. 38 federal awards up on the upper right-hand side have been received federal funding. And that has unlocked $75.93 million worth of federal funding into the state of Kansas. All right, some quick updates about our program. The Grant Assistance Program. This is the program that provides funding to local agencies for them to fund professional grant writers to help them write grant applications and also do grant administration. This program actually went live last week on February 19th. And what we see with our smaller towns is they face 3 hurdles. Essentially, they don't have a lot of technical knowledge about grant programs. We mitigate that by providing technical assistance to our small towns through our hub team. They also can't meet these large federal matches. You take a $1 million program, for example. If it's an 80-20 match program, that's a $200,000 match required of that small town. That's where the Build Kansas Fund comes into play, and Build Kansas Fund then supplies those match dollars. The final hurdle is their ability to actually write grants or actually have time to write grants. and compete with those entities that might have professional grant writers on staff or might be able to hire professional grant writers. And that's where the grant assistance program comes into play. And this program is going to be a reimbursement program. So if a local agency wants to hire a professional grant writer, we will actually reimburse them for the cost of doing so. This is going to be for our smaller towns and smaller counties here in the state of Kansas. We're going to start off with limiting this to cities that are under 10,000 people and counties that are under 50,000. We have funding in our operational budget, and we're budgeting $500,000 through the end of this fiscal year for this program. Again, this just went live this past week, so we obviously haven't gotten any results yet, but we're getting very positive comments and feedback from folks online. We also have our new webinar series that we started up in January, and we're continuing these. We do these on the first Wednesday of the month, and these are webinars that are designed to provide grant application writing information, tips, tricks, special topics. In January, we had 72 attendees. February, we had 85 attendees. Our next one is scheduled for March 5th, and again, that one is related to grant strategies. And again, we also have our Infrastructure Summit coming up on April 23rd. We've mentioned this before. It's going to be in Lindsborg, Kansas. And again, at that one, we'll talk about grant programs that are available, grant writing strategies. We'll do some presentations by our state agencies about their programs as well at that peer exchange. And we hope to have at least 200 attendees at that exchange or the Infrastructure Summit from around the state of Kansas. All right. We have 2 applications for advice today.
Could we hold for questions?
Sure.
I know we had some. You're good? All right. Any other questions before we move on to the applications? All right. Seeing none, go ahead. Mr. Volz.
Sure. We have 2 applications for advice today. One is an airport infrastructure grant out of the Wichita Airport Authority. The other is what they call a PROTECT grant, which is promoting resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation. That is out of the city of Wichita. The first one from the Wichita Airport Authority is number 2025-083. This is for an airport infrastructure grant, and this will be for airport or airfield pavement rehabilitation. They have taxiway and apron pavement rehabilitation that they need to do. They need to upgrade some signage and lighting at the airport as well. They're requesting $1,344,816,000 from the Build Kansas Fund. Their local contribution to this is $149,425. This will unlock $13,448,169 for a total project cost of $14,942,410. They are contributing 1% of the cost of the project, and that is this program here is a 90-10 match program. So 90% of the money comes from the federal government, 10% comes from a local match, which is either made up of Build Kansas Fund or there are local funds as well. So we bring this to you today for your final advice.
Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it looks like neither of these included the suggested 5% match. They're only doing a 1% match. Is that correct?
Mr. Volz?
Not exactly. So we request 5% of the match amount. Not 5% of the total project cost. So in this case, they both actually met that 5% minimum for us, yeah.
Any other further questions in regards to this application? I guess the one thing that I would emphasize is I wish they would have came up with a little bit more of a local match than the 1% of $149,000, especially when they're asking $1.3 million from the fund to match if it would be approved by the federal government. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, by consensus, we'll go ahead and have this forwarded on to the federal government. Next application.
Thank you. Next application is number 2025-087. This is from the city of Wichita. And again, this is the PROTECT program, promoting resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation. This one is for a drainage and transportation improvement project in the Murdoch corridor. Essentially, it is storm sewer reconstruction and pavement reconstruction in the neighborhoods around the Murdoch corridor. And this is an area that's seen a lot of flooding in the past, and the storm sewer infrastructure in that area is just not capable of handling the amount of drainage and rainwater they're seeing in that area. So they're reconstructing several of the sewers leading to Murdoch and then over to the drainage canal that runs through the middle of the city. This one's you're really gonna have 4 smaller storm sewer projects in this area that are taking place that make up this entire program. This one here is a large project. They're asking for $9,064,520 from the Build Kansas Fund. Their local contribution is just under $500,000 at $477.80. The federal funding unlocked to this program would be $38,166,400 for a total project cost of $47,708,000. So we bring this to you today for final advice.
Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just tying it back to your other slide, so do we currently have 200 million remaining to commit? I'm trying to get an idea of like what proportion of the total amount we have left to commit this would comprise of that amount, the 9 million.
Yeah, so on the previous slide that I'd shown, we have 17% of the Build Kansas Fund committed so far, which is we're right around $35 million of the $200 million that we have in the Build
Okay.
Kansas Fund.
Okay, so 165.37 million remaining to
Correct.
commit. Okay, thank you.
Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed on page 10, the city of Wichita allocated $4 million to a smaller scale version of this project, but it would not be available for several years. So it sounds like the city was willing to pay $4 million to do less over time, and now they only have to pay $477,000 to do more. So I don't know if maybe the city has more money that they could have. That's $477,000. City size of Wichita is pretty cheap. I just make that comment if anybody wants to do something with it.
I would agree with the senator as well, because I've noticed that too, where they were going to do a much smaller down version for this drainage system. Yeah, and now they're kind of like asking for the entire enchilada. Representative Francis.
Well, and along the same lines, didn't we used to have a line on here that said, at what dollar amount will this project not go forward if we don't do the entire amount? It seemed like, didn't we at one time have a line in there that we requested them to say, if you don't get this, at what level do you not proceed with the project?
Right.
Mr.
Yeah.
Volz.
Yeah, no, we still ask that question. I will tell you the answer we get most of the time is that if we don't get the funding, we're not going to move forward with the project at all. Yeah.
So why is that on the information that we got, though, their answer to that? I didn't see it in there. I was looking for it.
Yeah. We may have taken it off just because we were getting a non-answer on it, but let me check to see if we have it in there with this one.
And just another point, you know, when we get requests like this, I sometimes think we ought to just have like a total cap, you know, on what we're going to do. You know, this basically wipes out 20% of an entire year's worth of funds that we have.
You know, kind of going off of the comments that the senator made, because I think he's the only senator here. I guess Senator Billinger, sorry. I apologize. I am here. Sorry. It's just kind of going off of the conversation. I would make a motion to send this back to the city of Wichita for a discussion in regards to a larger match. Because if they're willing to ante up $4 million for the project, and now they've reduced it down to $477,000 approximately, and asking for an entire project, if we unlock the federal funds of nearly $50 million, and $9 million of that would be coming out of the Kansas Building Fund, that's going to be my motion, is send it back to the city of Wichita for further discussion. Seconded by Senator Schallenberger. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I close on my motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Mr. Volz.
Okay, thank you. We do have some application amendments that we do have to get onto the record. We have some programs that received less federal award than what they applied for, so that impacts our Build Kansas Fund amount. So we do occasionally bring these up to the advisory committee to make sure that they are on the record. In this case, the Salina Airport Authority had originally applied for a federal award of $14.1 million. They received a federal award of $6.4 million. We don't know exactly why they received a lesser award, but what that does is because our Build Kansas Fund is based on a % of their federal award, it does reduce the amount of Build Kansas Fund award going to this project. Same thing applied to Morton County. They'd applied for a federal award of $336,000. They were awarded $257. Again, that reduces our Build Kansas Fund award slightly from $37,334 to $26,250. And then finally, Osage County, which had a railroad crossing elimination grant. They had originally applied for a federal award of $2.1 million. They received a federal award of $596,000. Again, that reduced our Build Kansas Fund award from $525,000 down to $149,000. And we just asked the advisory committee to put this into record so that we can make those adjustments with the state treasurer's office.
Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you. So I don't have that information here, but I do have it here, and I didn't see it. So the projects are going to happen at a smaller scale that the city or the county and the feds have agreed to.
Mr. Volz.
Correct, yeah. Now, we don't know exactly why they reduced the award amounts. We've not been given that information by the federal government, but you know, they've essentially gone to a smaller scale project, reduced the scope of the project in order to get the award.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Francis.
So I know I'm just being stupid, but didn't you say the Salina Airport was something like $6 or $7 million or something?
The Salina Airport had requested $14,165,754 and received $6,419,098. So that's a big reduction in the award.
So the data that we have doesn't talk about the whole award. It only talks about what the share of our match was. Is that
correct?
what
Yeah.
we have?
So our original Build Kansas Fund award was going to be $745,566. Now that's been reduced to $337,847. And again, those funds in the Build Kansas Fund that are not awarded will get put back into the Build Kansas Fund for redistribution.
Any further discussion? Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not about these application amendments. Should I save my question for later, or?
Yeah, let's stay on topic with these changes in regards to the federal amount. I don't think we need a motion. I think they just make the adjustments in regards to the reduced amount to the state treasurer to have those allocated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So if there's no further discussion, those adjustments can be made with the state treasurer's office.
Thank you.
Now, Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, you know, there's been some freezing of federal funds for grant money. I was just wondering, is that impacting the ability to apply for these funds at all? Are you seeing any changes with the grant process because of those
Mr.
changes?
Volz.
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing changes. I'll start off with the changes we see in the grant programs that are available. Typically, any given time, we'll see anywhere from 70 to 90 active grant programs at the federal level. At this time, we've seen 35 programs actually pulled back by the administration, leaving 39 active programs right now. So a little less than half of the programs have been pulled back. But we also expect that with any new administration. They get a chance to look at these programs, rewrite the guidance to meet their priorities. And we do expect that these programs will come back out again. And in fact, even one of the programs we talked about today, the Protect program, is on pause right now while they rewrite the guidance. But we want to keep processing these applications to the Build Kansas Fund so we don't get a backlog of applications and all of a sudden have a rush to get these things approved.
Any further questions? Anything else that needs to be brought to us today?
I would just note that we are taking a trip out to Northwest Kansas tomorrow to visit the Northwest Kansas Economic Development Group, Northwest Kansas Planning Commission, and then we're also going to stop by and visit with the city of Hayes about the R9 project as well. And next month, you should see a application for the Build Kansas Fund from Hayes and Russell for their BRIC grant.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you.